Welcome back to another episode of the Princess of STEM Diaries. I am excited because Dr. Jeffrey Robinson is with me today. And I must say, I saw him walking down the hallway and asked, hey, I need to talk to you. And he graciously
That's
said
exactly
thank
how
you.
it happened.
It is exactly how it is the most NSBE thing. I'm telling you, the most NSBE thing to ever happen, to just be walking around and someone pull you and say, hey, can you do this thing for me? But you said yes. You could have said no. So thank you for joining me. I want to ask you, because you're a longtime NSBE member, about your NSBE experience. Can you tell me about why you joined NSBE? What'd you learn from it? Like, what keeps you coming back?
Oh, great questions.
Okay.
Because NSBE changed my life.
Tell me more.
I went to Rutgers University.
Yes.
At that time was the College of Engineering, now it's School of Engineering.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And studied civil engineering and urban studies. I had a double major.
Okay, that's impressive. Engineering's hard enough.
It is.
I don't need to add on anything else. Not a thing.
But I did.
Yeah.
Because my goal was to do redevelopment and economic development in cities.
Okay, love this.
Got to the first week of classes.
The first week,
First week of classes. Because somebody had prepped me. They said, you should go to the NSBE meeting.
Okay.
I got to the NSBE meeting, and it changed my life. It was a group of people who were like me, who were thinking about not only
the
getting through engineering.
Yeah,
thinking about the same things. And we were taking the classes together, and we were working with one another. And there was a
community,
a community. That Rutgers chapter of the National Society of Black Engineers.
Mm-hmm.
There was history,
yes,
and everything there. But that was just the local chapter.
Yeah,
I got involved, but then in 1991. So I started in 1989.
Okay.
1991.
Okay.
Went to my first NSBE convention.
Oh,
Los Angeles.
I was going to ask, where was it?
Los Angeles.
Goodness, and it's a good city too.
And got in the room.
Yeah.
And there were 4,000 people. I mean, that's small compared to now.
Yeah. What is it? 20,000 years?
Yeah, something
conference?
like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
4,000 people.
That's still a lot.
It was 4,000 Black engineers.
Yeah.
And I realized there was this larger national, international community that I could be connected to.
Yes.
Went to the job fair.
Yeah.
Looking for an internship.
Mm-hmm.
And who do I see across the table at the Merck & Company booth? But someone who had been in my freshman year, one of the officers of our NSBE chapter. And
that's amazing.
Yes, that was it. That was the beginning of a whole lot of good things, because she said, this is what you do, gave me a little advice, introduced me to the right person, and I got an internship.
That's beautiful.
So that was the beginning of a lot of great things. It ended up that, shout out to Merck & Company, because I got 3 internships with them. They were my sponsor for my GEM fellowship.
That's amazing.
Yes, so I got 2
so they
degrees
were
at
with
Rutgers.
you all the way through.
And they helped me with the GEM as my sponsor for the GEM fellowship at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So that was my 3rd degree.
Okay.
And I went to go work at Merck. Worked there for 3 years as a project engineer.
Okay.
Wonderful experience.
Okay.
But I decided I was gonna go on some more and do some more.
What
school.
made you say I want to go to more school? Because that is really hard to convince engineering students to do.
Well, it didn't take that much convincing, because I had my sights on some other things. I was thinking to myself, I want to have an impact.
Okay.
I want to, part of that is because I got involved with NSBE at the regional and the national level.
Okay.
And you get exposed to things. You go to the NSBE convention.
Yes.
In my case, I became national vice chair.
Okay.
Gordon Moore.
Oh, yeah.
I think these days they call him the S-Dot.
S-Dot. That is it. S-Dot.
He's the National Advisory Board chair.
Yes.
But he was my national chair. I was the vice chair.
Okay.
And the following year, I ran the 1997 convention for NSBE in Boston.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So all of that was exposure to
a bigger world.
A bigger world. The ability to run meetings and to work with different kinds of people and to talk across different sets of stakeholders.
Yes.
To make an impact on people's lives. That was a big view. That was not a narrow view of, I'm going to just do this engineering thing.
Yeah.
Once you get exposed to that and you start thinking sort of grand thoughts and big things, you start saying, well, how else can I make a difference and find a platform to make a difference?
Ooh, okay.
One more NSBE connection.
Yes.
Is that at that time there was an organization that was just starting, mid-90s, called the PhD Project.
Oh,
Now
yeah,
that
yeah.
was targeted at people who were already in the professional world, who were interested in doing PhDs in related fields. In this
Okay.
case, it was business.
Okay.
So I had been working for a Merck company, and it was a great experience. But I also started to think about what other things
What else could I
I
do?
do.
Yeah.
Found out about the PhD project, went to their conference,
Okay.
and as they say, the rest is history. Went on to do a PhD, a master's in the PhD at Columbia. So ended up with 5 degrees.
I was going to ask how many. Like, what's the total here? That's amazing. So, have you always liked school?
I did. I
Okay.
did like school, and realized I was actually good at it. Yes.
Yeah, you're like, I'm actually a great student. I can do this. Okay, that's amazing. 5 degrees.
5 degrees.
But I was talking to you a little bit before we even started the episode, and you said something that I'm sitting with, and I'm like, I have to get it out. You're a full professor.
Yes.
Do you know how rare that is?
Yes, I do.
Like, what is the percentage of Black men who are full professors in higher education right now?
Ooh, I was thinking when I looked at that number, I looked
Yes.
at it by field.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the group that I was a part of were full professors in business schools.
Okay.
I could count them on 2 hands.
For the country?
Yes, indeed. 10.
That is why I'm sitting with it. You were like, oh, well, I'm a full professor. And I'm like, I can't as an associate professor,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, I'm so proud. Like, oh, yeah, I got to this associate level. Full just seems like another, I don't know if I'm going to go for it, y'all. So
Yes,
when I
you
say
will.
that, but it's just, there's no one around me that is like that in my space.
Right.
So I have to seek other people, but it's less than 2%, and it's even less for you.
It's a small number. And again, you think about specialties. You think about
Yes.
the kind of discipline that you're in.
Yes.
Because as you already know, the more education you
Yes.
you add on,
The more
Yes,
specialized, like I thought I was going to go to
specialized.
school and I was going to get all of this.
yeah, no, you become a specialist in,
Yeah.
in a particular set of topics,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that community.
Yes.
You may be the only one, or for our entire conference that's here or abroad.
Yes.
You look around the room and you
And
don't
you're the
see
only one.
many people like us.
Do you feel that weight ever?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. And the story continues. So
Okay.
so finished the PhD at Columbia Business School, and specifically was looking at entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Think.
Ooh, okay, this is interesting.
Yes,
Okay, then look, we're
yes.
okay.
Well,
go.
I got to bring it back to
Okay.
these 2 things I started with.
Yeah.
First of all, my specialty became urban entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I started to think about urban areas again, back to the economic development. So remember where I started? I
Yeah.
said I wanted to be
Civil
involved
in the yes, you
in
wanted
urban
to
studies.
Yes.
So that never left me.
Okay.
And while it wasn't my destiny to build buildings per se,
Yeah.
it was to think about the greater economic development that's happening in cities.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part that's interesting about cities is, of course, this is also where tech entrepreneurship takes place. So back as I was transitioning from associate to full professor,
I'm going to always talk about full professor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was also studying technology entrepreneurship, especially people of color who were founders of tech firms.
Oh, okay.
So that became another that goes back to that technical background and
yeah.
combining it with the sort of the
with
economic
the
side.
economic development.
That's right.
That is beautiful. Do you feel like you're having the impact that you wanted to have?
So the answer to that is yes, but not always in the way that you think it's going to be, right?
Okay.
So along the way,
Yes.
I got tapped to become the provost of my university.
Yeah.
So at Rutgers University in Newark.
Yeah.
And when you're at that level within an institution where there's a chancellor and a provost, you get to see the impact of the whole institution, not just one department or one
Right.
school. You get to see
Everything.
You get to see everything, and so then you can start to see how a university can have an positive impact on the communities in your city. So Newark, New Jersey,
Yeah.
got a lot going on in Newark.
There is a lot going on in
Yeah.
Newark. I
And-
know a couple people in Newark.
Well, see,
Yeah.
So you know that Newark has you got all the young people in the public schools and a bunch of charter schools. You got various issues around the economy. You got large corporations who are part of the city, but they have a workforce that just glides in during the day and then glides back out. At least that was before COVID. Now they for the most part, stay at home.
Yeah.
So how does entrepreneurship play into that? And then we're in a corridor between Newark all the way down to Princeton and into the Trenton area, where we have all these pharmaceutical companies, or a lot of companies that are hiring technology-oriented people.
Yes.
And then, of course, the universities that have all these innovations.
How many universities are in Newark?
So in Newark, we've got, when we think about it, we got 4.
Okay.
Because we've got Rutgers University, Newark.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, Rutgers University has absorbed what used to be called University of Medicine and Dentistry.
Okay.
So that's now Rutgers Health.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
We've got the New Jersey Institute of Technology.
Oh, I forgot NJIT. Okay,
right.
okay.
And then between Essex County College and the Seton Hall Law School, we got a couple others right there.
Okay.
So all of that is right in Newark. People don't think about Newark as a college town, but it is.
But it is. Yeah.
And so how do these institutions make up a direct impact? So one of the unique features of Rutgers University Newark is that we think of ourselves as a publicly engaged or community engaged scholarly institution.
Okay.
Meaning we're not just making knowledge and doing things in our classrooms and laboratories that's just to talk to our 7 friends in the academy.
Yeah,
what's the
we're
application?
networked.
Yes. How do you use this within the neighborhoods and within the community?
Now the community is receiving this?
Yes. Well, and they wanted it,
Okay.
I mean, that's part of the perception. Often that happens all around the country.
It does.
Where, it's the ivory tower. You have that place over there. That's a university that is doing something that the community has no relationship or no connection to.
Correct.
And that's not how we operate at Rutgers.
See, that's a beautiful thing, because it is not like that everywhere. There are lots of institutions, like the stereotype is there for a reason. It's not an overgeneralization.
Yeah.
It's not always fault. Like, sometimes the institutions are just solely there because it's a place, not because they care for the community that they reside. So to hear that there's another model that exists is amazing. What is the thing that you're most proud of in this model?
Ooh, there's a lot of great stuff.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, so one of the things I started while I was on faculty was a Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development.
Okay.
Founder is a professor named D.T. Ogilvie.
Okay.
Eventually, she became a dean at another school and left.
And had to
left the institution.
take an opportunity.
And, me and some other folks, we carried on the torch. So I'm proud of that, because one of the things that was going on in Newark was there were all these different entrepreneurship and innovation and technology entrepreneurship things going on, but there was no coordination, and oftentimes you're duplicating things. And you create a new program, and you're like, well, that program's over there. So we set up a model where we would, instead of creating new things, we would find the best in class, best in the community, and merge things together, go for grants together, figure out collaborative models. And so I'm proud of that, because it's a model that we don't always see.
You don't always see that. This is good. I'm like, oh, you're teaching me a lot about this community and what you guys are able to do. But I have to tell you, it's 2025. The assault on higher education is real.
Yeah.
How is it to lead during a time like that?
Well, it's challenging. But part of the challenge goes back to that history that you said. Yeah. Some of the threads or the seeds that led to this moment have to do with institutions that did not engage with their community. Where that group, what people are calling those elitists over there at the university, were disconnected from the people who were funding them from dollars from you can call it tax dollars from the state or federal, and so there's this blowback right now against some of the institutions that are private and the top of the top, because the people who are railing against them don't see that they are connected to what those folks do. Now, we can have the political and philosophical debate, but one of the things that we recognize as state institutions, public institutions, is that we can't afford to be elitist
at all.
Because not only are these tax dollars or there's a responsibility that we have to our state, but even within the local community, you
have a responsibility.
You have a responsibility. And so we're there for the public good. And again, I think that's a unique feature of public institutions.
It is very unique. Well, that's not even just public. That's unique for you all. Because there's plenty of public institutions that don't feel that way.
Understood.
Okay.
And so this is a unique moment.
It is a unique moment.
And I think what one of our sort of pushbacks on this entire sort of anti-university movement
Yes.
going on right now is that we understand where it comes from. But one of the things we've been doing is really focusing our attention on the things that we do that have direct benefits
To the people.
to our cities and towns, and to the state overall. How we prepare the next generation, folks who will be the innovators and the corporate folks and the
Yes.
folks who are running nonprofits. And just to put a point on it, we become that economic engine of social mobility. Just like I was a first generation student, my
Yep.
parents did not go to college. By the time I get to college, I'm learning this all for the first time.
Yeah.
But the entire economic picture of my family changed because I was able to get
You were able to navigate.
get a degree, navigate the system, to be able to go to school, pay for school, and get through school, and then go on and be successful. We do that for so many of our students in our state.
Yes.
And what we want to make sure people understand is that when you start pulling away resources from these types of public institutions, you're doing not only yourself a disservice,
Yeah. But the community.
you're doing something bad for the community, because there's a direct line between all those first generation. I got like 56% of the students on my campus are first generation
That's
students.
a lot. That's a large number of the population.
That's right. That's right. And so when you start taking away dollars from, the NIH,
Yes.
the-
Yes,
the-
yes, yes.
the indirect cost,
Yeah.
that affects how we can operate, the business model of how we operate.
Yeah.
When you start tinkering with, what they're calling, the acronym DEI, which
Yeah, yeah.
really means diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah. Say the words.
Right?
Yeah.
When you start tinkering with that, you're now tinkering with the social mobility of
Yes.
of society, of people who are right here in our communities.
But I don't think people realize how hard it is to actually change your class when you talk about social mobility.
Yes.
I don't think people understand how challenging it is. And for generations, people tend to live how their parents lived.
Right.
But you can get out of
Yes.
that situation. You can always prosper, but it does always. I found very few people that are able to do it without education.
That's the point. And I think that's what some people have lost sight of.
Yes.
Is that these institutions of higher learning,
Yes.
these higher education institutions, are part of that process.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I suspect you would all say a little bit out of whack.
Yeah.
How much it costs to go to school.
Yes.
Again,
It's expensive.
state school, which I represent,
Yeah.
not as much as large scale private
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
And so when people start hearing all of these conversations, I think they got to really be specific about who they're talking about.
I agree.
I
agree.
For a student that goes to Rutgers University, tuition for a whole year, $15,000.
Yeah, like that's an affordable institution. I still struggle because I don't know when this movement happened, but there's this anti-debt movement,
Yes.
and I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Someone help me.
I think I understand where it came from,
I don't.
but but I have a challenge with it,
Okay,
as
let's go.
you do.
Yeah.
There was a moment, right,
Yes.
where not only was the cost steadily going up,
Yeah.
all right, but the return on that investment,
Ooh, there
Right?
it is. There it is. It
Well,
wasn't actually.
was it keeping up?
It wasn't keeping up. Okay.
And so that becomes the challenge. So how much money
Yeah.
are you able to get from various sources before the loans?
Yes.
And then again the question of, well, if I go to this school, I have small amount of loans,
Yes.
versus I go to that school, which
it's
tells me this will give me much better opportunities because of the name brand of the school.
They're not wrong. Always.
But your debt package is going to be very high.
Very high.
And then there were a bunch of those companies that were providing loans at exorbitant rates,
Yes.
and all of that got out of whack.
Okay.
So then the narrative became, don't take any loans.
Yes.
And that's not the right narrative.
That is not the right narrative. It really angers me. That is not the right narrative.
There is a time to take some loans.
Yes.
All right. And the question is, can you pay them back? And what degree are you getting?
Now this is when it gets spicy.
That's right.
This
What
is when
degree
it
are
gets
you
spicy.
getting? What career path are you on, and can you pay that back?
Ooh.
Because if your track is to take yourself to medical school,
Yes.
or you're on engineering track, one of the STEM tracks,
Yeah.
your
Take the
earning
loan.
potential is there.
Yeah.
So taking the loan makes some sense. Some of the other ones. Well, and remember, there were also a set of loans that we've talked about forgiving some of these loans if you go into public service.
Yeah.
Some of those programs didn't work out quite the right way,
Yeah.
and some folks ended up with large scale debt. Last administration was trying to deal with some of those things.
Yes.
Some of that's gotten blocked, but that's again, it's a real issue. But
it is an issue.
But the young people who are making the decisions,
yes,
are often also listening to their parents talk about loans that they've taken out and perhaps
are still paying sometimes.
Still paying.
Yeah.
And so again, there's a proper way to utilize loans.
Yes.
And then of course there's a whack way to do it. So you gotta have some real financial literacy to be able to evaluate that. And yet again, that's something I think we've tuned out of school somehow.
Yes.
So now we're trying to bring it back in.
Yes.
And but that financial literacy will help not only the children,
yes,
who become the students, but also the parents.
It would help everyone. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I'm going to switch gears because we talked about higher ed. I don't want to keep going down there because there's a lot that we could go down. I have a lot to say, but I want to talk about your books.
Oh, yeah.
Because in this moment right now, I want to know, first of all, you have two.
Two books.
So I'm
That's
talking
right.
I was like all proud, like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about black faces in white places.
That's
and you're
right.
like,
That's 2010.
You're like, you outdated, sis. Come back in 2022.
2022.
You released a new one.
That's right. So I got to give credit to my co-author.
Dr. Pinkett.
Dr. Randall Pinkett.
Yeah.
Yes, we wrote the first book back in 2010, Black Faces and White Places.
Yes.
2022, we came back with a second book called Black Faces in High Places.
In High Places. Talk to me about this. Like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Why these books?
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So what we did was we thought about the trajectory we were on.
Okay.
And people were always asking us questions like, oh, how did y'all get there? And what did you do? So when we wrote the first book, we wanted to answer that questions for you.
Okay.
But we didn't want to just use our own stories. And so what we ended up doing was interviewing successful people who have done their own trajectory, their own path to success and greatness, as we say.
Yes.
And so that was the basis of the first book because for our story and for many of the other stories of the people we profile, we had the similar experiences of being the one or the only one.
The lonely only. That's what I call it. The lonely only.
In the room, at the table, in the profession or what have you.
Yeah.
And so that was our goal for the first book.
Okay.
And 2010, the book comes out. The president was President Obama.
Yeah.
We figured, we won't. This book will be out of fashion very soon because we won't have this situation where
we're on the come up.
That's right.
Yeah.
And along came 2016. And it was a different story.
A whole different story.
Yeah. But the book was useful for folks. And people said to us, it gave us a guidebook for thinking about our early careers.
Okay. But
some of the same people who were in that book, we actually saw them go from where they were, which was
even higher,
which was already high, to the highest parts of the organization.
Okay.
Don Thompson, an engineer, went from being somebody who had worked at McDonald's as a young person, to actually becoming CEO, of McDonald's Corporation.
That's amazing.
Lives here in Chicago. So we interviewed him, and then we saw him rise to the top. So we knew there were other people out there like Don Thompson, and we said, how do we get their stories out, and what's the pattern? Remember, in 2020 and 2021, the world started to shift.
Get crazy
because COVID came.
Yes, we did not know what to do.
And at the same time, George Floyd was murdered.
2020.
And one of the other questions was, well, we know that there are these black professionals at the top of the game.
Yes.
They just saw what we saw happen on TV.
Yes.
And what are they doing? Because the common narrative at that time was that we have black faces in high places, but they're not doing anything.
People do. I mean, people still say that.
They do still say that.
Yes.
But we were seeing some of these folks at the top who were starting to say something. We saw Ken Frazier
say something.
Ken Chenault. We saw them actually putting their sort of forces together and starting to think about what they could do to bring this national conversation to actually make some changes. Thasunda Brown Duckett, who was at J.P. Morgan Chase at that time, and now she's the CEO of TIAA CREF.
Amazing.
Which is where all my retirement money is. Right? You had other people who you got Robert Smith, and you got others who were having these same conversations, but we're actually doing something about it. And we said that's who we want to profile.
Yes.
Because not only did they get to the top,
they're doing something.
But they're doing something.
That's beautiful.
Support the community. And then we distilled 10 lessons for them from all those conversations and profiles that we had.
Okay, so 10 lessons. I have not read this, but everybody, get your copies, both books actually, because it'll help you navigate. I keep telling you, like, in a time like this, it's just because Black faces in white places and high places, both, are being challenged as, what do they call? I don't even want to repeat it. It's not worth it because we're gonna focus on empowerment. But there's a challenge because we're looked at like you're not even supposed to be there.
That's right.
What are the 3 things that you have 10 lessons in the book?
Yeah,
but give me 3 like this is what I need you guys to know.
I'll give you 4 quick ones.
Okay, good. 4 quick ones. Give me those 4 because I need it. I'm like, I need to be uplifted.
Well, and I'll just give you one quick snapshot of what else happens in the book.
Yeah.
First part, of course, of the book is you got to lay the foundation.
Okay.
And so we laid a foundation, and we showed that the stories that people have about how they got to the table.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with understanding yourself.
Yes.
Right? And so we did that. Then it's like, okay, now you're in your profession, you're in your corporation, you're in the nonprofit world, whatever it is that you're working on.
Yeah.
It's networking. We're not just networking to know people and shake hands.
Yeah.
It's networking and using power.
Yes.
All right. So that you can make some difference.
Yes.
And that difference may be around, the business world, but it could also be about your own community. And so we profile some of those stories. Then mentorship. Everybody talks about mentorship, but the question I ask people and the question that we ask people when we go out and talk to different groups is, do you have a mentor, and does your mentor have 2 layers above you in the organization?
Ooh.
Because there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
The reason for that is, the people who are one level above you in the organization, they can see a bit of the organization. They can see how you're doing and how you're doing with your peers. But they don't have the larger or broader view of what's happening, where the company is going. And that's the kind of people you need to be talking to.
That's a good one. I'm over here evaluating my network. Like, wait a minute.
Well, you got to. You got to be strategic about it.
I need to level up.
That's
I need to get yes.
Third thing, we call it leveraging our might.
Okay.
And it's about membership. So think about networking, mentorship, and the third one, membership.
Yeah.
Being a part of something. And that could be, and as it is here at the National Society of Black Engineers.
There we go. Yes.
It's about being part of professional organizations.
Okay.
It's about being part of business resource groups, employee resource programs or groups. Being a part of a community of people who have common goals.
Okay.
Maybe that common goal is around your identity. Maybe it's around other things.
Right. Common interest.
Absolutely. But those are also, they're also the breeding ground for leadership.
Ooh, I love this.
And all of the people we talked to, no matter what their end game was in terms of where they ended up, we're all part of something. Because you can't be that's right. That's exactly right. You can't be a loner and make this happen. It doesn't work. You gotta have people with you. And then I'll leave this last thing with you.
Okay.
Because that's great. That gets you to have the potential influence and have some opportunities.
Okay.
But those who went all the way to the executive suite,
yes,
those folks were innovators. They were problem solvers. They were entrepreneurs, even inside of large organizations. And we talk about that. It's in some ways, if you're talking about folks who are in large organizations, we call it intrapreneurship. And then some of those folks, they created their own organizations. They were being entrepreneurial, so the entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Those are the folks that
Get elevated.
got to the top, because a lot of folks plateau.
Yeah, they get to a level and
That's
it's like,
right.
oh, they've been there for a
So
while.
what makes you stand out?
Okay.
Are the folks who have those skill sets, those mindsets that allow them to shine.
Be an innovator.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. What makes you set you apart? Gives people, when people think about that subject, they think about you.
Right.
So no matter what the field,
Yeah.
each of those folks had these moments where they shined.
Yep.
Where they had the ability to show off and in their profession. And that's what helped get them the visibility to go to that next level.
Ooh, that was good. Thank you for sharing that with me, because that blessed me, because now I'm like, okay, I got some of these. Check. Okay, I'm on my way.
So just put all of it together.
I'm putting it all together. I appreciate you joining me on my podcast today.
Well, this was fun, Whitney. This was fun.
See, I told you it wasn't gonna hurt, right? So thank you again for joining. I appreciate you sharing all these tidbits, and everybody, please go buy the books. And again, just keep up with them. Chancellor right now. Yes,
indeed. Yes,
all
indeed.
right.
And
Okay.
you can follow me on social media at J Robinson PhD.
There it is, J Robinson PhD. Follow him. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Nothing but NSBE love.
That's right.